All right, everybody, welcome to the workshop. We're going to be making a Titan 1M Mini for our xsTech router today. So if you've not done the Titan 1M, the regular size one, I would encourage you to watch that video and go through that. This is going to be a little bit quicker pace because we're assuming that you've already seen that video and made the Titan 1M. And we're just going to make a mini version of it. So I've got a drawing file that I'm going to be utilizing to do this. So our overall size is going to be 2.5 by 1.4, and we've got a depth of 0.45. You can see our pocket is going to be 0.3 inches down. We're making it this way so that we can use basically a single tool to machine most of this, and then we'll come back with a chamfer end mill, and we will chamfer the edges on this. You can do both the top and the bottom operations on this when we use Fusion, but if you wanted to, you could just do the top operation just so that we're getting practice using the xsTech router so that before we jump into the 770, we kind of have a baseline of what to do. But this is the drawing file that we're going to go with. I'm going to create a folder. If you've not, I've got my Titans and CNC folder, I've got my xsTech parts, and then I've got my mini M blocks that I'm going to be building out here. And I created a file that's called the Titan 1M Mini. S26 for spring of 26 is the semester that we're working on this. So let's jump in. So if we look, again, our overall dimensions, 1.4 by 2.5 by 0.45. So that's our first step, is create a sketch on this surface. And then we're going to create a rectangle and 1.4, tab 2.5, hit enter. And then we can finish our sketch and extrude with an E, 0.45. We'll do the fillets at the end. So we want to leave these sharp corners when we do our dimensioning for the interior and for the holes. So it just makes it easier if we did that. All right, let's look back at my sketch. It looks like I have a 0.2 offset here, and then I'm going to draw the lines for the rest of the items that are here. So we'll start with our offset. So we'll hit new sketch on this top plane now, O for offset, and we're going to go a negative 0.2, and then we're going to place some circles at certain locations. So you can see it's 0.2 for this first whole point, and we're going to basically put points along here. So let's put our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points kind of in this pattern, and then we will dimension them. So we'll create our points. 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. And then these actually are horizontally constrained. These are vertically constrained. These are horizontally constrained. These are vertically constrained. And this one's right in the midline. So you could make a construction line that goes right through the middle of your part. And then you could anchor that to that midline if you wanted to. So now it's can only move up and down on that. So to create a construction line, you hit L, and then X will toggle if it's a construction line or if it's a normal object line. So again, you can see when I'm hitting X right now, and you can see it toggling between those line types. Now I need a dimension. So D is my hotkey for dimension, and let's dimension this. So this is 0.12. Again, I have a printout of that, so but I'm going to refer back to this drawing. I'll just click back and forth so you can see it. And then what else do we have here? So it gives us a 0.75, a 1.25, which is right in the middle, so we're good there. And then a 1.75 and a 2.38. So I'm just kind of commit those to memory here for a second. So we're going to go here to here. This was 0.75. This one we don't have to dimension. This one right here is 1.75. And then this one here is 2.38. That looks good. And then going vertically, we've got a 0.12, a 1 inch, and a 1.28. And And again, this one's on the 0.2 line that we've already created an offset, so we don't have to dimension that one because it's already constrained to that line. You can see they've turned black already where these are white, so you know that they're constrained. So from here to this edge, 0.12. From here to the top edge, it's 1 inch. And then from here to the top edge was 1.28, I think. Double check. Yep. That looks good. So there's all of our holes. They're fully dimensioned. You can see they all turn black. On that, we're going to finish the sketch. And now we're going to use a hole operation, and we're going to drill these holes. These are tapped holes. They are 832s. So we're going to go to number 832. We are not going to model them, so don't check the modeled button there. We're only going to drill in 0.3. And that should be located on the hole note here. So 0.3 right there. We have all 7 of them are that same one, 832. When we're doing this, when you move away from a window, it kind of closes that window out, which is kind of silly, but there we go. And then we're going to put actually a countersink on it, and we're going to do a 90-degree countersink. And the distance of that countersink, let's see what, I don't know if it's 0.15 or not. I'm just going to guess, and then we're going to look and see if it gives me a dimension on the countersink on this. It actually doesn't give me a dimension on the countersink. So I'm going to go with at 0.15 just to give it a little bit of a chamfer there when I use my chamfer tool. And then I'm just going to select on the rest of the points to follow along. So there's your, if you need to pause it, there's your information right there that you need to get your holes in position. All right, there's our holes. We're now ready to make a new sketch, and now we're ready to do our pockets. So we've kind of already done an offset, but I'm going to redo it. We used it for the holes last time, but now we're going to use it for the pockets. So there's our 0.2 offset. And then we've got a couple circles that we're going to add into these 3 spots. And then we're going to add a couple lines that are tangent to this circle here and come down and make a 45. And then we've got a couple lines that are going to come this way that are parallel to that finish that off. So this is kind of our base, and then we're going to kind of ping back and forth and see what we have dimensionally. So this radius is 0.188, or yeah, so 0.188. So it's probably 0.1875 is actually what it is, but since it rounds to 3 digits, if we do a point, is 0.375, is that, oh, it's an early morning here, guys. What's 0.375 divided by 2? Yeah, so I think that's supposed to be 0.375 for a diameter, and then it rounds it to 0.188 for a radius. So we're going to dimension one of them, and then I'm going to put an equals constraint for the other. So I'm going to go 0.375 on that. Put my dimensions on the outside so you can see it. Makes it a little bit easier. And then the small circle is a 0.14, so that's a radius because it's an arc on that, but we're going to dimension this to a 2.8 or 0.28. And then we're going to say that this is tangent to this is tangent to this. And then we're going to put an angle measurement of 45 right here. And the same thing here. And then we can make a parallel constraint between these two, which it already has, and we'll do one with these two. We're going to say that these are equal in length, which it already is. And then we need to put an offset between here and here, which is going to be 0.2, and an offset between here and here, which is also going to be 0.2. And that should put all of our dimensions that we want in that space. So notice it doesn't give the offset, but we're making that kind of assumption that we have a 0.2 offset all the way around. So that dimension there is 0.2. So we keep everything square. We'll come back in with the radii here, and we'll do our fillets, you know, where they're needed here. So this really should be times 13, I think. There's 13 of these spots that we're going to have to hit with a radius, but this is good right there. All right, so we've got our sketch done. We're ready to finish the sketch and do an extrusion. We're going to extrude this and then all of these little parts here. And this is going to be a negative 0.3 extrusion down into the material. There we go. And now we're ready to do our fillets. So we're going to come in and we're going to fillet. There should be 13 of these vertical lines that we're now filleting. So we're grabbing all of these vertical lines. So you can see all in the inside there of my pocket. And this little deal here should have 13 edges. And I think it's 0.13. I'm going to check right there. Now this should say, you know, 13x is what that should say, just like this says 7x. So if I'm making a drawing file of this, I'd redo that, but you can see it's 0.3 is the depth of that pocket. We got all of our radii here. And I was thinking to myself, I realized why this doesn't have a chamfer on it is because when we actually machine it, we're going to machine the chamfers using these contour lines. So I'm going to go back to that hole feature and just turn off and make it a simple, simple hole type here. So instead of doing the countersink hole, I'm just going to make it a simple hole. So yeah, still leaving this as an 832. That gives me the size of the hole that I need to drill before I tap that manually. Again, I can't tap on an xsTech router, so we'll just have it bore that hole out, and then we'll come back with a manual tap and tap the hole for an 832. So put that back together. And the last thing we need to do is fillet these edges. So we're going to run a fillet, and we're going to do the 4 verticals here, and that's a 10,000, 0.01. And like I said before, we're going to do all the chamfering in the machining, so I don't like to model the chamfers because it's easier to grab these contour lines than to figure out which contour line to grab if you've already modeled them. But if you want to put the chamfer in there so you can see it, I don't mind that. So you can kind of click on all these lines, click on this one, and this one. And we're going to do a 0.01 chamfer. This is what the block is going to look like when we're done. Okay, it's going to have chamfers on it, but you can just back up in time when you're doing the machining portion, which is what I recommend. Just back it up, or you could suppress that feature. You could right click on it and hit suppress feature, and now it disappears, so you're ready to machine. But anyhow, you're going to remove that when it's time to do our manufacturing for this. That's it. That's how you use the CAD model. That's how we create our Mini 1M for our xsTech router. Again, stop watching, start making, go build something great today. We'll see you next time.